right, I'd like to call the appointments committee meeting to order. So first thing on the agenda is the approval of the last meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain? So motion passes. Public speak time, anybody here other than agenda items? There are not. No mayoral communications. And then we're gonna jump into the new mayoral appointments first because we have some guests with us today. Start with Austin. He's going to, has applied to go on the planning board to be an associate. 9 Parsons Street, lives in town.
Yes. I do have an update on the cell phone number.
Okay.
Change there.
Sure.
New number 413-977-3307.
3307.
Yeah, changed from earlier.
Okay. And then it says on the application you have you served on any other city or board committee? I called that out in the email when I wrote to you.
Yep.
So obviously you're on the board of Public Works.
Yes, since September.
Okay. How's that going?
Good.
Any issues? Any concerns?
No,
Nice.
No, it's been going well so far.
Yeah.
You said since September? That's what you said?
Yeah, I mean, my first meeting may have been October, but September is when I think the appointment was finalized. First meeting was probably October.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a meeting last week. You missed.
No, I was.
No, he was there.
You were there.
I
Yeah, he was there.
I was
Yeah, he was there. I saw him.
behind the
Yes.
the crowd, probably.
Yes.
Behind the
In front of the camera, it was forward.
Okay.
A lot of stress
A
on
lot
that.
of people there.
Yeah, fully occupied.
Yeah.
I hear Michelle is leaving. Is that right? Is that her name?
She already did. Yeah.
So this will be for the planning board.
That's right.
And you heard of it from Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
What qualities or what makes you interested in the planning board, and what would we benefit from, appointing you on that board?
Sure. My interest comes from my background in urban planning.
Okay.
I have a master's. I've recently worked at West Mass Area Development Corporation until this year. So I've 3 years work in mill redevelopment. So that's kind of my
That's huge.
work interest, but apart from that, I have other interest in commercial and residential aspects of the planning board as well.
Okay.
Yep.
So what other cities have you worked with that mill redevelopment dance?
Just at my time at West Mass, that was mostly in Ludlow.
Okay.
Work also in Chickpea and Holyoke as a project manager, but I hadn't done any work in Easthampton.
Okay.
The Ludlow Mills, wasn't there a big occupant that was leaving the downtown Ludlow right now? He's been there for 100 years, just come over the bridge from Springfield. Right.
Yes, that's the living mill.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're
I thought there was someone that was leaving.
they're growing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I worked for them for 3 years, and then transitioned. Yeah.
Which areas do you think are developing their mills successfully? Aside, of course, from Easthampton.
Aside from Easthampton, well, I think Easthampton is the leader in some regards. Certainly.
Chicopee had a
Yes, those mills are coming online with the infrastructure that they've worked, improvements they've done there. So Silver Brick is bringing more than 100 units to chickpea there.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll be, I don't know when ground breaks there, but that'll be massive.
That will be. 100 units. Jessica.
Oh, more than, I think it's more, yeah, double.
You know Jessica Allen?
Um,
She moved over to a company in Amherst,
mhm.
I think, or Hoyoke, I'm not sure.
I'm familiar with their work. I don't know
Yeah,
her
I don't know.
personally, but I'm
Just wondering if you ran into each other.
very familiar with their work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Any questions?
Yes. Why you want to serve in specifically in planning board? Why this board? And I know you're serving in the BPW too,
Mhm.
but why this board and no any other one?
Let's see. Well, specifically for mill redevelopment interest first, but also in regards to the additional housing that's needed in Easthampton, as well as just to keep up with housing demand locally and statewide, but then also just an interest in the downtown stores, which obviously have strengths going for them, but there's a space constraint downtown. So I had spoken with Jeff and had heard that there was a need on the planning board, so I wanted to see how I could support that effort. And then obviously there's needs outside of downtown as well.
Thank you.
Do you know any of the current planning board members, socially or?
Probably just from attending meetings, but not socially. I would know Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Socially, yeah. But the planning board members, not outside of meetings.
How many meetings have you attended? If I may ask.
I believe 4.
4.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So you do know they're at night. There's a lot of night, a lot of work on the planning board.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It can be very controversial on occasion. Aside from being a city councilor, I think that's where, well, I suppose on occasion the licensing board and other boards have controversies, Conservation Commission, but the planning board seems to come to mind.
Sure, and I think the task of the planning board members is to try to respond to that in a adequate way that deals with the controversy and doesn't make it worse than it needs to be.
Dealing with it with the public works now,
Right.
you know, you gotta make tough decisions, but, you know, you also gotta be cognizant of the residents, you know, and
Right.
the impacts that our decisions make, you know, on them too. So I think, you know, I mean, you already attended meetings and everything else. You got any further questions?
No.
You're good?
I'm ready to vote.
All right. Yeah, all right, then I will take a motion to recommend Austin Sanders to the planning board.
Expiration time 12/31/2020.
Yeah.
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And we'll be bringing it up to the full council this afternoon, and then I'll review all the, you know, information that we had, and so we'll find out after today's meeting.
Great.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for meeting
Thank you
with
so
us.
much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good meeting with you.
All right, why don't we move on to Joe McCoy, seeing he's here.
Who's that guy?
Joe is...
Off camera.
It's over there.
That's a proof I'm here.
So, looking to be appointed to the Easthampton Housing Authority, term expiration 12/31/2024. We know you personally, and we know a lot about you in the past and what you bring to the city and your passion to the city. I guess the start off, just why Easthampton Housing Authority? What's your interest there, and what are your plans on bringing with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of boards and committee, a lot of times you see what is available, and when I was ending committee near the end of my term, this position came available, and so I looked into it, and certainly at the tail end of my last term, there was enough controversy and discussion about how that board is run and how are the residents being heard and all that. So that certainly got my interest as well. And so I did attend the first meeting, and it's an interesting board because it's quasi-local, quasi-state. Some are the state appointments, some are local appointments. From all my years on the city council, I don't really feel yet that I had much of familiarity of who they were, what they did. Mm-hmm. But at the same point, they have one of the permanent positions on the CPA, so they're very much involved in other committees, and so it's an interesting board that's in between, I think, state and local. So I was hoping to be able to bring sort of my experience through the city council, whether so how procedurally maybe be a benefit, as well as just from any board committee, like you and Omar and Owen, Tom bring new ideas and new perspective. I think would be good for that committee, because I think that board has been the same board for a very long time, as I understand it.
All right.
Yeah, and so I think it's good just to have new ideas. And so I went to my first meeting. I was not a voting member at that time, but already some of the things that have already crossed my mind is every month we meet at the Easthampton Housing Authority building, whereas most of these developments have their own community room. Why don't once a month we at least rotate to one of those places, so make it more accessible for people to come and hear. So anyway, I'm kind of excited about bringing new perspective and new ideas, as well as sort of some of my background in procedural and even agenda things. Some of the things from the first agenda, I thought it needs to be done a little bit differently. But so I'm excited about the challenge.
Now, with this appointment, is that chairing the committee, or is it just being on the committee, and then because they currently don't have a chair, right? And
No, they did the first meeting. I mean, that was so. I mean, I don't know. It would have been maybe probably too soon to be considered the chair anyway. But my first meeting, I wasn't a voting member, and that's when they elected everybody. Okay. So I believe Betty Burnham is the chair. Okay. That's what my recollection is. Yep.
How many members are there, Joe?
5,
I believe.
I think it's 5. One from the state and 4.
Yeah, wait, and there's one who's a resident representative, one from the state, and then I know there's me and Merrill Point. I'm not sure if the other two person I can think of is two people I can think of are Merrill appointments or not. I think so.
Do you know how much the budget is that they operate? Offhand, not that you should know.
There was less in the last minutes. I mean, it's substantial. I mean, I think, as I remember, their balance in the bank was in the ballpark of $247,000. Oh no, maybe even more. Maybe like maybe closer to 500. It's pretty significant. Yeah. I mean, they're quite, and rightfully so, quite proud of their work, and that I guess maybe I should know this, that every city and state has one of these organizations. Mm-hmm. Some of them have more need to be funded by the state. Easthampton Housing Authority takes a lot of pride that they are self-funded, that their money they raise through rents and such help completely sustain their work. So although I guess there is the option for it, they don't receive any funding. And so I think they get recognition from the state for being well run, the fact that they are able to be self-sustaining in that respect. But there are certainly significant projects. There was the last meeting was that they mentioned there was an asbestos issue in one of the developments, which maybe that's where the 240 came from. I think the estimate for repairing that is pretty significant. In the $200,000, considering the way it has to be removed and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, they're talking about some pretty significant monetary numbers there. So.
Yeah. Questions, councilors?
How many times they made a month?
Once.
Once a
Once a
month.
month, yeah. That's the second Monday, I believe. Maybe it's the first Monday. It's the 10th. This month anyway. But it is once a month, yeah.
So like it's the second.
So is it,
Should
so
be
the
the
second?
second.
Okay, so that must be the second Monday then.
I'm just thrilled to have good people step forward, Joe, and
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, I saw even and you feel it too, from the council perspective, it's good to have new ideas and new blood. And I think again, that board, and they've done a great job. I don't want to speak badly about that, but I think a new perspective is always good, And then I did actually, I just have in my pocket a flash drive, because I know there were a significant number of letters, and so I want to review some of the complaints and see if it's something. And also, it's just I think from my work from a counselor, automatically what comes to my mind is I should set up hours, and even if we don't have the community center, I say, hey, I'm going to be at the Sunrise Community Center
Yeah, to listen to people.
Saturday morning, come by for some coffee and donuts or whatever, and
That's a good
let me hear what your problems are and your issues are, So I think, unfortunately, coming from that perspective of city service, that those kind of things pop into my head about how can we reach out more. I know, one of the discussions came up about, that we are, I can't remember what it was, but we're not like a social service agency, we're a rental agency. And I think they're somewhere in between. I mean, because
Yeah, I agree.
the population they serve are underserved, have issues of their own. And so I know you're there to make money, and I know you're there to not be in the red, but I think you have to also walk a little bit more than, let's say, Autumn Realty. You have to be a little more than them and reach out for, because a lot of these people, I don't think they have to be Easthampton residents. There is a priority. I think Easthampton residents are number one, veterans are up there, and Easthampton veteran is probably higher, so there is a stacking, but I think there are options where people from outside can apply. But yeah, and I would like to see a rental agency with a little softer side too. So
That's good. The only other question I had, you're not on any other committees or boards, are you?
no,
Okay, so your slate's clean.
Yeah.
And you're ready to
just
go.
the day job.
Yes.
Just the goat farm.
Yeah, no. I wish it was just the go part, but
and these are all uncompensated positions.
Yeah.
Is that
I
correct?
don't know. It's quite. No one from East Hampton Housing Authority has mentioned to me yet. But Jane had told me she thought there was a stipend for people on the EHA, but I don't know that yet.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because that's what their budget is, completely independent of the city. So that's why we never see a line item for EHA.
Right, because it's private.
So,
Right.
so I don't know. I don't know that for a fact yet. I'll have to.
I just wonder if that,
No, because Barb,
Yeah.
Barb picked up that right
Yeah.
away. She said, "Oh, you're a good thing that it's not on the city budget line,
That's
because
nice.
then you couldn't take that job for 6 months." But because it's not, she said it's not a problem. Is that what you were thinking of?
yeah, that's what I was thinking of, because it's a mayoral appointment and council approval,
But I
which is
guess
interesting. And if it's compensated,
yeah,
all of that, except that it's compensated by another.
strictly by their own,
Not by
so
the
the
city.
city has
By a
no
different line.
say over
Right.
that money. Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know yet, because no one has
Yeah,
mentioned
no-
it. I may be wrong. I may be,
Listen.
but I'll find out.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to recommend Joseph McCoy to the Housing Authority, term expiration of 12/31/2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So it has the typical quasi-state appointment of being 4 years instead of 3. Because I know the licensing board is 4 or 5. So you
Yeah.
see that in those
Planning board was only
mixed
2.
state ones that are
Yeah.
longer appointments as well.
All right.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Do
Congrats, Joe.
you mind if I stay for the rest of the meeting?
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. You're more than welcome. It's a public meeting.
Yeah, exactly. I can't work usually.
All right, so we'll go on the next one. Brenda Saylor. I sent over her letter of interest to you. She sent it to me. It was not provided by the mayor for our request, so I ended up getting it from her, but I did reach out, and you guys are on copy to the email as well that she sent. So she's unable to attend as a prior commitment. A few additional skills not reflected on that if you didn't read it. Went to Harvard, became a certified meeting facilitator, led many meetings and projects in groups at Harvard, and the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, State Street, and she's very familiar with meeting management techniques. Going further back, participated in school government, including student council, junior and high school, and was class president for 2 years of high school. So really kind of been a leader through the course of her life. Business executive with extensive experience in development strategy and implementation, effective communicator and manager of people, strong background in development, professional experience, the veterinary emergency specialty hospital, State Street Corporation, VIP of marketing, Federal Reserve Bank in Boston, and Harvard University. A lot of information on the resume here. If you look at the founder and CEO of the veterinary, I mean, you run a business, you started an entire business, from everything, and you look at the numbers of developing a successful business plan and obtaining $2.5 million in loans and financing partnerships with Florence Savings Bank. I mean, there's a ton of information here that I think qualifies Brenda. And looking at it, I didn't have really much to question her on the thought process.
It's an interesting confluence of different, Harvard,
Right.
Federal Reserve Bank.
Right. The State Street Corporation.
Setting up a business for emergency veterinary services.
I've done work for that. What's her name again?
Brenda Salyer?
Yeah.
Salyer?
Oh, yeah.
Sailor or Salyer?
Yeah, I know. Because before this, I got my new job. I used to do consulting work. For that lab, and so Brenda, right? Okay, I know her. Yeah.
So I think more than qualified. I think brings a lot to the table. A lot of professionalism, a lot of knowledge, especially in the business development. Could be a good partner with some businesses within the community, and even the VP of marketing at a company for 4 years, and that's not an easy job by any means. You're good?
I'm good.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to recommend we approve Brenda Saylor to the planning board, term expiration 12/31/2022.
So move.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. So we will move that on. And then the last one is a reappointment for Jason Miranda. I requested information on reappointments and I haven't gotten any information. There's no email address, there's no telephone number, there's no information from the mayor's office on this reappointment. I wanted to bring it up at the meeting to request the information again.
I would support that.
Publicly. So I want to continue this appointment until we get further information on the reappointment.
Good.
Okay. So we'll continue that and request.
What is the time frame now before
45 days.
45 days.
I think we're into it.
And this was
This was put on.
The second meeting in January, I think.
It was submitted to the
8th.
city clerk on the 8th, but it wasn't given to us until after that, which was the 15th.
I think it's when it's to the clerk.
Yeah, I'm not sure that.
Either way, the next meeting will be on the 19th.
Yeah, no,
We'll have plenty of
we're
time.
gonna be good, yeah.
Yep. So, more info. So I will request that today during my report to the full council, and
And that time frame is by charter, if I recall.
Yes.
correct. So that concludes today's meeting.
I just,
Oh.
You wanna,
I just want to mention, I think if, maybe next time we do charter review, it should probably be looked at that if no information is provided other than a name, that 45-day period shouldn't stand.
Yeah.
I think that there's the obligation of the mayor to give you the information that you can make a decision with, or to have the person be present, I think we ought to look at that and say, it shouldn't just be an automatic appointment if you're not doing what you need to do to.
Right.
It could be as simple as just inserting a complete application, so if you
Well,
don't.
that's it. I mean, in order to.
Or if they were present. I mean, if they came
Yeah.
before the meeting and you were able to inquire, then you can ask all the questions that I think, but just to have an audit, so we could put that in the back of our minds.
Yep. And we got 3 minutes to get upstairs, so
Good.
I will.
move to adjourn.
second?
All in favor?
Thank you, gentlemen, take care.
Thank you.
See you later.